there's a bit right near the end where suddenly he's like in purple, which is, as you know, sort of the imperial color,
Yeah.
both of the Roman Empire and of the Star Wars Empire. But it's a lovely color as well, and he looks so full of life, and it's a great. If you were going to frame a picture of him, that would be the one. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Block on the left, block on the right. I heard you on the wireless back in 52, lying awake, intent at tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through. Oh, more of that later. But first, we have a track to listen to. Andy, what have you got for us today?
Well, we are going to be revisiting one of my favorite bands. So I'm going to have you go down the Manchester Orchestra Road and have you check out a song by them called Top Notch. But we will be doing so with somewhat of a heavy heart here on my end. On Valentine's Day, just about a week ago, we were out to dinner and I got a notification on my phone and looked at it, and it was the news that Tim Very, the band's drummer for the last 15 or 16 years, suddenly and unexpectedly passed away. Which was just rough news. I've met the guy, been to plenty of his shows, sweetheart of a fella, and an absolute animal behind the kit. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to go pick out a song where he really shines, at least in my opinion, and foist it upon John so we could pay our respects to a really great drummer and an even better guy. So this track, Top Notch, I think is a good example of what a great drummer he is, the kind of pocket that he occupies back there behind the kit. So this is so it's live footage and the performance is live, but they kind of spliced it all together to create a bit more of a show for you. But it is from their performance at the Tabernacle Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, their hometown. So please, John, go off and give this thing a go and let us all know what you think of the track Top Notch by Manchester Orchestra.
It's awesome.
God, I wish we liked baseball.
I really like that beginning. It's clearly shot really well, and I love for the second we had that split screen, like the start of Dallas. If you like their names as well, that'd be really funny. But yeah, it's clearly really high production values, and it sounds great. I love that start with that sort of one guitar chord sort of distorting, and it's sort of ringing away and turning into feedback, and and then couple of taps on the old sticks, and then into these huge riffs on the guitar. And lovely shots there. Really nice stuff. like this. I like they've been quite clever as well. They're changing the color scheme. Earlier on to these blues, and it sounded quite um not bright or hopeful, but it was quite vibrant. And now we're moving into the reds, and it seems a bit more ominous. Um, Guitar sound massive here, and they do that thing. They used to do it in the '90s a lot as well. I call it almost guitar gurning at the end. It's like a big riff or power chord, and then it's almost like bending notes comes in over the top. Yeah, guitar gurning. It'll catch on, that phrase. Sounds great. I loved it then, love it now. And again, it became almost rhythmic. The way they were doing this, the big sort of riffs, and then even pausing, and then it comes back in and chugging. All the while, the rhythm sections really laying down some huge foundations, and your man on the drums, Mr. Very, is popping away. Yeah, it all sounds really good. Really, really good.
Didn't really matter how it happened when it did. 'Cause when it happened, you react to it with sympathetic wince. So you try to wash it out, but that's a stain that won't dissolve. Man, we all believed in ghosts until you walked into the wall. So
I didn't want to stop it, but that was just a really huge moment there. Let's go back a little bit. Yeah, that sort of climax there with that drum roll and all the sort of the shots matching the strikes of the drums. Really. Wow, that kind of stopped dead in the tracks. Yeah, I haven't got very few words I scribbled down. Do you know the first like couple of lines he was singing? I was wondering if he was speaking in a different language. Um, so yeah, not a clue on that front. But the sort of drama of it all and the visual palette they used as well was just great. Um, It's that there's a shot right at the end when you saw Mr. Berry in sort of purple, but most of the time he was in this diabolic red. Um, yeah, mining the depths of Hades for, for his sounds. Yeah, really, really cool. I'd love to know what the hell's going on in that, but musically, I very much enjoyed it. Um, yeah, great sound, and yeah, great sound from the drums as well. So he will be sadly missed. But let's find out some more about it. Let's go back and chop it up with Andy.
All right, so you have returned from the Tabernacle Theater. What did you make of this performance, John?
So yeah, a couple of things. I mean, it's always it's really kind of odd in a way when we do these episodes, and we did one for Manny last time, and Andy Rourke and other people as well, and it's always a bit sort of bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing that lives on after all these people that we've spoken about is their work. Um, luckily, you know, they didn't work in a council office or, you know, whatever. They produced music and art, and so something can be enjoyed again and again.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to just say is, it starts off the video, and I Tabernacle Theatre. I'm not sure if I've seen this before. I've got a feeling I've seen the building before and some other footage because it's in Georgia, so likelihood is I have. But even so, it still looks fantastic, and this is one particular sort of viewpoint of the way they've done it. Really, really well done. It looks everything looks awesome.
Yeah.
So it starts off, and we have some obscure mention about rounders, and then the song kicks off. We get a distorted guitar chord which sort of hangs heavily in the air, prolonged like a bad sexist heckle, and then it starts twisting on the hook, as it were, in its own feedback until we get a couple of raps on the sticks, and it propels us into the song. And straight away, I know we're supposed to be talking about the song, but the video of this is so well done. Production values are very, very high on this. There's some lovely shots of the band in slow-mo, and visually it's a treat. It's filmed so well throughout. I like the bit at the start, but stylistically you get the split screen in three, just like the titles to Dallas. I once did a sort of music video thing about something, and I did that as well, and it's so much fun. It's great. So Mr. Hole starts singing, and to be honest with you, it was about 3 or 4 lines before I actually understood what he was saying. I did wonder genuinely after about 2 lines, is he singing in English? Because it wasn't anything that was comprehensible. And I know I'm terrible at picking up lines, but it really kind of affected the way he was delivering it, which is fine, you know. And there's thousands of people in that building who know the words off by heart. So he wasn't thinking about you know, a few years later, some idiot limey trying to discern what he says. But honestly, I was like, oh my God. I mean, what's happened? Is this the Urdu version or something? I don't know. Anyway, uh, the fog clears for a little bit, and it does throughout the song. Not enough to make me understand what the hell's going on, but just pick up. He says something about they decide which one gets to leave this place. Doesn't really help me here, so let's concentrate on the music for now. What I really like this opening bit is the guitars have such a muscular quality,
Yeah, they do.
and one's sort of doing the heavy lifting, all stance and purpose with these massive sort of, you know, chords, while the other places these sort of sinewy sort of embellishments onto the song as well. And underneath it, the rhythm section lends this sort of profusive bedrock, with the drums in particular sort of firing off volleys occasionally as well. The music drops down, and we go through another verse, and you would hope that it makes it a bit clearer because the music drops. But no. Again, I get a smattering of words until he says, "No one ever listens or visits." So I'm thinking, is this about Anne Frank? I don't know. Then Andy Hull repeats the line, something about and again, even the way he sings this simple line is a little bit weird. All I know, no way to fix it. And he repeats it I think it's about 4 times, and then it all kicks off, just like in the car park of a wedding reception. It really goes. They do this thing where the guitars have these massive sort of power chords, and then they do this thing what I call like gurning at the end of it. So you get this and there's sort of bendy note thing.
Yeah.
Imagine him sort of pulling the face of making that. There's a technique that was used a lot in the 90s. I enjoyed it then. I enjoy it now. It's a really nice little sort of like technique. The guitar phrasing becomes increasingly rhythmic, and actually fully pauses once and then comes back in. And this whole passage is also really visually a delight as well, with shots of the band and the audience and suitable sort of flickering lighting, and the color palette as well, which I'll come back
Yeah.
to. We then sort of mellow out to almost a chug, and he says something about didn't really matter how it happened when it did, and something about ghosts. And at this point, the stage is illuminated in red now, with the name of my favourite singer from the Teardrop Explodes, Mr. Julian Cope behind. Nice tribute. And so whenever the camera cuts away to members of the band, particularly Andy Hull and Mr. Berry, they are lit with this sort of diabolical flavour, sort of redness to it. And do you know what? It just made me think of the 1980s. You see loads of bands lit like that in the 80s, and it's quite a throwback. It's really nice. Um, this is the staging, the building stage of the performance. I know it, you know it, the audience know it. And for many of the people in the audience are familiar with this song, you can see the anticipation etched on their faces. They know what's coming. So as he sings, I think it's So Come On. Some of the crowd sort of join in. And then we exit this section with this huge rat-a-tat-tat drum fill. And the images flicker in an epileptic-inducing manner in time to the thunderous strikes of Mr. Barry. And it's a real sort of mini climax within the song. It's a really brilliant point. I had to bring it back and watch it again. It's superb. The huge guitar riffs continue, as does the guitar gurning, along with some massive drum pops. And then the song ends fittingly with the final raps from the drummer.
Yeah.
So I haven't got a clue what this is about, but it was, we've got no context of the song, or it was, I think I'm way off the mark with Anne Frank.
Well, in some ways, yes, but in other ways, you might be surprised, but we'll get to that.
Bloody surprised. But it was high drama. So watching it was great. And the way it was staged in the, post-concert in the visual mix was done really, really well. And I go back to the color palette. I really enjoyed that. Probably one of the things I enjoyed the most was how it was lit. So at the start, I wouldn't say it's enthusiastic, but you have these sort of kind of blue hues. And when it cut into the crowd, maybe once or twice was in color. Most of the time was in black and white, which then sort of didn't take away from the drama of the song going on. The band, the crowd almost like witness in this sort of black and white, almost like newspaper photography. I really like that. As I said, when it then cut to the red, there's this lovely double, and then the close-ups of Mr. Very. I think last time we saw him, and there was that TV. I can't remember your.
It was Letterman, yeah, I believe.
It was Letterman, and he was clean shaved. I'm pretty sure. He certainly didn't have the Unabomber look that he had.
Yeah,
half the band have then. So he looked even more diabolical. It was great, really great visuals.
Yeah.
We got some close-ups and almost slow-mos as well of the expressions of the faces, and then there's a bit right near the end where suddenly he's like in purple, which is, as you know, sort of the imperial color,
yeah.
both of the Roman Empire and of the Star Wars Empire. But it's a lovely color as well, and he looks so full of life, and it's a great. If you were going to frame a picture of him, that would be the one. And keep it. Really, really nice. So yeah, the way it was all put together, it was a real sort of. I think, without going back and listening to them all immediately, I think of all the songs you give me, this is the one that I enjoyed the most immediately. I mean, it just hit straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really, really good performance live as well, and really well put together, the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I'm really, really glad you liked it. And for sure, it gives you not only an opportunity to see each of them individually as they're playing and in their, element, but the congregation of them together as a group and the love that you can feel amongst them as a band is palpable and on display. And all that's heartening to me. You know what I mean? It's always fun to see that kind of stuff. And then, yes, the bombastic performance, the amazing lighting, the interplay with the audience who's obviously jonesing to see them, is all a lot and fun to take in, as well as just the raucous muscularity of the song, which hits pretty hard for a Manchester song. Some of their songs can be very artsy and introspective, and other ones can get right to the meat of it. And this is one of those, I think more the latter than the former. So yeah, we were due to check them out. I'm glad you enjoyed this track so much, John. And it's just a shame to have to do it in the wake of such a talented individual passing on, but here we are. As mentioned, we have covered this band in the past here on the channel, and we've created a playlist dedicated to those episodes, which I've linked in the description field below here. So feel free to go back and check out those episodes if this song and band strike your fancy. In the meantime, I will endeavor to avoid rehashing information already covered in those previous episodes dedicated to them. So, a quick recap of the band. Manchester Orchestra is an American indie rock band from Atlanta, Georgia, and they formed in 2004. The group's current lineup is composed of lead singer, songwriter, and rhythm guitarist Andy Hull, lead guitarist Robert McDowell, and bassist Andy Prince. Hull is the band's only original member, having overseen every iteration of the band to date. Former drummer Jeremiah Edmond parted ways with the band in January of 2010 to focus on his family and on running the band's record label, Favorite Gentleman. The band's original bassist, Jonathan Corley, parted ways with the band in 2013. Keyboardist percussionist Chris Freeman announced his departure from the band in September of 2016. And sadly, as mentioned in the opening, and since then a couple times, the group's drummer of the last 15 years, Tim Very, died on February 14th of 2026, just, a week ago. So Manchester Orchestra has released several extended plays and 6 studio albums to date. Their debut is I'm Like a Virgin Losing a Child, which was released in 2006. Their sophomore effort was Mean Everything to Nothing, which came out in 2009. Followed by Simple Math in 2011. Cope, which obviously is the album on which this features, was released in 2014. I believe this is the first track we've done off of Cope. And I think I mentioned this before to you in the past that Cope was almost immediately followed by an accompanying acoustic album called Hope, which is kind of like a reimagining of all the Cope songs, but in a different from a different angle, and obviously an acoustic one. A Black Mile to the Surface came out in 2017. The Million Masks of God came out in 21. And finally, The Valley of Vision was released in 2023. This track that I had you listen to today, Top Notch, is the first track on and was the first single released from the band's 4th studio album, Cope. It was released on April 1st of 2014 through Loma Vista Records and the band's own independent label, the aforementioned Favorite Gentleman. The album was self-produced alongside their longtime collaborating partner Dan Hannon and mixed by John Agnello at Fluxivity Studios in Brooklyn. Cope mainly received positive feedback from critics upon release at Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating that we've talked about ad nauseum on this channel. It was awarded a 70 based on 18 reviews indicating generally positive reception. In a review for AllMusic, Matt Collar claimed that Manchester Orchestra's 4th studio effort is a heavy, often dark, yet incredibly melodic album that finds the Atlanta outfit delving deep into its post-hardcore roots. At Alternative Press, Brian Schultz rated the album 4 stars out of 5, saying the band appeared to be making the artist's natural self-reaction statement when they promised the 4th full-length album would be brutal, pounding, and an unapologetically heavy rock record, in contrast to the emotional and musical bell curve of its predecessor, which this, even though appearing as far more straightforward to the average listener, certainly delivers just that. It's the band's signature sound, only beefed up with massive choruses, heavy plowing, and pleasing anguish. In addition, Schultz closed with, and though it unfortunately eschews the dynamic, emotive crest and space of past efforts in favor of Manchester Orchestra's intensely urgent intent, the results make it completely worthy addition to an alt-rock catalog. Miles Raymer of Entertainment Weekly stated that the album combined indie rock melodicism with hard rock heft. On September 16th of 2014, Manchester Orchestra surprise released Hope. A moment ago, I just mentioned it, a song-by-song reimagining of Cope with stripped-down and more emotionally driven versions of each song. On Hope, Andy Hall stated that the band aimed for nasty and guttural stuff on Cope, and this was more like, how pretty can this be? I've always liked both sensibilities. This was an opportunity to see if we could sit down and do it for a whole album. So let's dig into these lyrics that you struggled with, John. And yes, it doesn't have to do with Anne Frank, but there is this idea of wanting to escape and make it out alive, which I think Anne Frank could commiserate with. There's two twin deaf kids, and they've got to make an ungodly decision. They decide which one gets to leave this place and which one will forsake it to make it. So the first kid says in his temporal tone, I don't think there's a way to resolve it. We should wrap both these towels round our blistering bones and wait it out in the closet. His brother looks him up and down and prophesies how all of this should end. He says, we're buried underneath the yard and no one ever listens or visits. And all that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. It didn't really matter how it happened when it did, because when it happened, you reacted with an apathetic wince. So you try to wash it out, but that's a stain that won't dissolve. And we all believed in ghosts until you walked into the wall. I love that line. We all believed in ghosts until you walked into the wall. Like you see somebody that you thought is dead or gone or that you'd never see again. And if not for them not, just transmitting through a wall, having run directly into it is now confirmation that it isn't in fact a ghost, it's reality. And a lovely way to just sum that up so succinctly. So give up. So give up. So give up. All that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. All that I know is no way to fix it. So when asked about the song and its meaning and inspiration, Andy Hall provided the following. The song is about two brothers trying to escape a fire. We tried to create something that told less of an immediate story and caused more of a gut reaction, something to be interpreted without laying it all out in front of you. It's also quite terrifying. And in an interview with Northern Noise over there in your neck of the woods, John, Hall was asked the following. The video for Top Notch is suitably creepy. How happy are you with it? To which he responded, I think it's really, really weird and awesome. It's totally outside the box. The subject matter of that song being about two twin deaf brothers and a house that's burning down and then realizing that one of them is going to make it and the other is not. The video is like one weird requiem for a dream, close shot of their lives. Like somebody was digging and found this VHS artifact in the ground. Which is kind of an indication of what you're going to get when you get the video. It is pretty eerie and dark, but definitely worth checking out the official video for the track. So there you have it, John. A dark tune with a powerful energy, a very evocative narrative, and some terrific drumming that we Manchester orchestras took for granted for over a decade and will truly miss. And before I wrap things up here, I wanted to share what the band posted on their Instagram account on Valentine's Day about a week ago, as of this recording date, to honor their deceased bandmate and dear friend. The entire Manchester Orchestra family has been devastated by the sudden passing of our brother, Tim Very, the most beloved human being any of us were lucky enough to know in this life. We've all been dreading sharing this news, and we are all still in absolute disbelief. Tim was instantly likable and interacted with everyone he met with kindness and warmth. His laugh was infectious, and he immediately made people feel invited and encouraged. His humor and energy were the very foundation that held together the entire Manchester Orchestra universe. Strangers quickly became friends, and friends became family. He had an undeniable light that was only matched by his dedication and love for the craft that he was so clearly put on earth to do. No words can ever do him justice. Please know, if you are someone who loved Tim, he loved you too. The only thing that Tim loved more than creating music was being with his family. You'd be pressed to find a more joyful father. We love you, Tim. Thank you for loving us. You are a force of positivity that will be a constant presence in the rest of our days. So yeah, there you have it. Amazingly talented drummer, only 42 years old, which hits really weird because that's my age. And given the sudden nature of his death, it kind of puts things in perspective. But yeah, hell of a guy, played a hell of a set of drums. for 15 years for a really good band. So I just wanted to bring them to the channel again and have you give them a go, John. I appreciate you giving this a go and enjoying it as much as you did.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you're Manchester Orchestra fans out there, feel free to drop any comments down below about Tim or any experience you had watching them play live. If you haven't, or you've only heard a few tunes of theirs, please let us know what your thoughts are on this track as well. If there's any suggestions y'all have, please feel free to drop them down in the comment field below as well. And we'll be happy to add them to our list so long as at least one of us isn't familiar with it. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. Rest in peace, Tim.